Hi, this is Megan Jacks, Creative Memories Independent Advisor. And in this video, I'm going to be revisiting sketch number 5 from the November 2020 Creative Memories Virtual Crop. If you followed along with my other videos, you'll note that I didn't do sketch number 5. This sketch actually made me quite frustrated. A lot of ideas I had for it didn't pan out, so I ended up putting it together, not doing a video. I was pleased with the results, but didn't have a chance to get a video made, so I wanted to go ahead and do that and show you another way to put it together. This is the sketch itself. You can find it on the Creative Memories blog. It is sketch number 5 from the November 2020 virtual crop, and you'll note the details of it. It has the half circles on either side of a column of 2 photos stacked on top of each other. The embellishment details has the little banner tag here that's fun, and some other embellishments. I had horizontal photos, so I rotated it when I made my version of it, and I turned it into a 2-page layout. And I made some adjustments to how the half circles went, and I'm going to go ahead and show you this my version of the sketch. So this is the first page, and I made it a 2-page layout, and so you can see here what I came up with. I ended up really liking this. I love the detail where you have the punches that work together and give that sense of motion to the page. They kind of like almost imagine, go behind the photo and pop out and in front. That's really fun. So I also used the Cloud Border Maker cartridge. It, to me, mimicked the piles of snow, which was great. And then I love using the Crystal Chain Border Maker cartridge in that nice contrasting crimson, and put in that the banner detail for the little titles on top of each photo. It's hard to tell, but there is in silver it says snow, and then it was a play on words for in black writing it says snow much shoveling, snow more room, and over here it says snow everywhere. So we're going to go ahead and jump into a different version I'm going to show you how to do. And this, we're going to be using the Winterberry collection. And I'm going to be using the sleigh punch. I thought the sleigh would look really nice with kind of that same movement. So I decided to use Winterberry. I had a little bit left in my pack. So I started off with this lovely tonal purple paper, and I like the mid to dark tones on the background paper for this layout because I am going to be once again using white cardstock with my punch, and I want to make sure I had some nice contrast so you can really see these sleighs as I've got them arcing through the photo or through the layout. And then for the center section, I wanted that mid to light tone paper. So this is once again still from the Winterberry collection. It's the other side is that hexagon beehive kind of look. And so here is I'm going to be using this as my center section, and I will be pairing in with some white in the clouds. We're going to keep that the same way, so to mimic that snow feel. And then I was looking through the Winter Frolic collection, and I really liked this plaid paper. It's got the purples that go with the Winterberry. So I've got that I'm going to be using, and I'll show you how I'm going to use that in there. It's a little overwhelming if too much is used, so we're going to be using it kind of in a sparing manner. And I am going to show you how I trim the background paper so that I can actually use some of it on the front. And I'm going to use this background paper here to punch a border to put on the front here. I tried to find something else that would go. I actually tried using the plaid paper. I went ahead and I punched the Snowflake Border Maker cartridge, the Snowflake chain. And the green looks great on that dark or the darker purple, but when you put it on the lighter purple, it just kind of blends in. And if I flip it over, it's got the plaid on the other side. It's just a little too busy. So I'll show you how we're going to cut this so that we can get ourselves some of that nice darker purple in the snowflake chain on the front. So what we're going to do first is we're going to cut this background paper in thirds. So we'll cut it into 4-inch sections. So I'll be cutting it at 4 inches, and it doesn't matter. This is a non-directional paper, meaning it doesn't matter which way I cut it. I just need to make sure I cut it at 4 inches. And I'm going to do one more cut at 4 inches. So now I have my 3 4-inch strips, and this paper that's going to become my center section of my paper is, I'm going to cut it at 6 inches. I'm going to cut it in half. So this works great if you're wanting to make a 2-page layout, and that's kind of how I did the first one. Is I knew I was going to be making a 2-page layout, so I went ahead and I just cut it in half. I was short on the other paper. I didn't have extra page of it, so I cut it in half and got it to work. I'm going to do the same here. I don't actually have another piece of this Winterberry, but I'm going to order it. I've got it in my cart. I think I need to get another pack of it. It works so nicely with the Winter Frolic paper. The purples are really pretty. So I'm going to cut this as 6 inches. See there, it's 6 inches where I'm making this cut. And I'm going to set aside this extra piece for when I make my second page later. And I'm going to set my trimmer aside for a minute. And I'm going to grab my border maker system because I'm going to punch both sides of this lighter tone purple with the Cloud border maker cartridge. So slide it in. I'm going to punch both sides. The Cloud border maker cartridge is one of my favorites. It is so versatile. I hope you have it. If you don't, definitely put it on your wish list. And we'll feed the other side in. And we're all set there. So now I have my the middle piece, and I've gone ahead, I've already punched 2 strips of white cardstock with the Cloud border maker cartridge. I punched it, and then I trimmed at right about 1 inch from the top of the tallest Cloud. So this is, they're about 1 inch strips. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to attach my piece here. I'm going to attach it to each side of the clouds. Now I did make sure when I was punching it, I want my clouds to be offset. So when you punch the cardstock, what you're probably going to find is you actually need to flip over the white cardstock from how you originally punched it so that it's opposite. I didn't want it to be a mirror image, or excuse me, I didn't want it to be exact. I want it to be the mirror image. I don't want to create a shadow. I want it to look a little bit different than that. So I'm going to go ahead and apply some adhesive, and I'm going to apply it here just to the bottom of the cloud. I'm not using much of an overlap. And how I'm telling here how much of an overlap is, I'm looking at this peak right here. This tall peak is hitting, and I'm checking to make sure that it's even all the way across. It's about 1/8 of an inch. That looks good. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. Checking where that tall peak is, and it's about 1/8 of an inch from that. The white on top of it. I just want it to be fairly even all the way across. Looks good. Now, I'm going to have to reassemble my background page. So I've got one of my pieces of the medium purple here at the top, and I'm lining it up. I'm using my trimming mat as my 12 by 12 template here. And I've got quite a bit of an overlap here. So I'm going to actually go ahead, and you can see I cheated and I used the Winter Frolic cover set page, or the cardstock page that has the printed pictures on there. I use that actually to make my cloud. I do that a lot. I use that sheet a lot. And I'm actually, before I attach that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put down my other piece here at the bottom. So I'm lining it up at the very bottom to create my top and bottom of my 12 by 12 page. And that way, when I add, I can go ahead and apply the adhesive on both sides. And I want to put this down. I'm going to go ahead, and I'm using this, I'm kind of centering it. So I'm right at about 6 inches from top to bottom. So I'm lining it up, keeping an eye to kind of center things a little bit. So I'm at right here at 3 1/8 of an inch, and I've come up here, I'm here at 8 7/8 of an inch, which is centered on that 6-inch line. And I'm going to double check on this other side here and kind of get it to the same position. So I think I look pretty good there. Oops, I can tell I've deviated a little bit. Making sure I'm keeping my tops where, top and bottom where they need to be. That's this thing to do there. So I look good. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add my sleighs. So I have kind of determined how many sleighs, and I'm going to need about 5 sleighs on each side. So I've got 10 sleighs punched from white cardstock. And I'm going to need 5 for top and 5 for bottom. And so because I'm using 5, I'm using an odd number. I will have a kind of an odd one at the top. I'll have a center one, and then I'll have 2 on each side. So use your trimmer mat here. Since I'm wanting it to have this arc that comes down here in the middle and then repeats here at the bottom, I know I'm going to have to go underneath the Cloud Border Maker cartridge at about 6 inches. I know that from 6 to 12 inches, 9 is the middle. So that's where I'm going to put my middle one. And then I'm going to have to work to get in the intermediary ones here. And I just have to kind of eyeball. So this is where, if you're sitting down, you actually might want to stand up, because you're going to be able to see and eyeball that circle a little bit more. And it's a pretty deep dive down into those the clouds there, but that's okay. The other option you could do, and I'm kind of doing a quick lineup, and I would actually lift my clouds and I would fit these underneath. One thing you can do here is you don't have to keep this half circle here and half circle here. If you're doing a 2-page layout, you could actually extend this. So you could go more into how the Creative Memories showed theirs. Was a little bit more of a gentle swell, not quite such as steep. And you could come in here and play around with it. So you could still have that movement. You can kind of imagine if I had that second page over here, what it would look like. You'd have that nice top swell and that bottom swell coming up. So there's the option there. I am probably going to go ahead for this one, just go ahead and put these how I had them before at that 6-inch mark. And the next thing I need to do is I'm going to go back to that 12-inch or the strip, the 4x12 of this purple paper. And I'm going to go back and we're going to do a quick punch. I'm going to do a punch and a cut. I'm going to punch it with the snowflake chain. Lots of options for this. I'm using snowflake chain because I'm doing a winter layout. the sleigh and the snowflakes that I did before give that very winter feel to it, but you could use lots of different punches to do this. Whatever punches you have, the standalone punches, you could do the reindeer, you could do leaves, you could do anything that, anything, a flower. The snowflake trio punch worked really, really great. We've had a few leaf trio punches that would work. So just take a look at your punch selection and see what you like there. So I have the snowflake chain done in this medium. I'm going to make the banners. And how I did the banners was I cut a strip 3/4 of an inch wide. And there's a reason I use 3/4 of an inch. And I'll show you in a second. So 3/4 of an inch, I'm going to come over here to the 3/4 inch. Now, with a 3/4 of an inch banner, I am able to use my banner punch. I can flip it over and I can actually feed it in from the back side, and I can get that banner end made for me. So what I do is I'm centering it in here. I'm pushing down gently. That's going to kind of lock it into place. I can double check. Do I like my centering? That's better. And I can punch. So now I've got a nice banner end. If I went too wide of a cut, I wouldn't have been able to feed it in. It's anywhere between 3/4 of an inch to 7/8 of an inch. You kind of have to play with it a little bit. And I'm going to make them 3/4 of an inch by 2.5 inches. That's the size that works well with my photos. So there we go. And I would repeat that for as many photos as I wanted to put those little banners on. So the next thing, it's time to get down to a little bit more to show you more of the assembly. So I'm going to bring the layout back over here. And you can see I've got this all ready to go. The areas where I come off the page, I will, of course, just go ahead and cut those off. Now, my photos for this layout, I use photos that were 3.5 by 5 inches. You could use photos that are 4 inches tall. You don't want to go 4 by 6 because you want to have a little space in between each photo. So the 5.5 worked out great. My particular photos worked better at the 3.5 for the ratio, and that also is what gave me that room at the bottom to do the border maker cartridge at the bottom. So if you use a 4 by 6, you may not have room down here at the bottom. So if you are able to, give it a quick trim and get down to 3.5. For this layout, I'm using that plaid from the Winter Frolic collection, and I've made some mats. Now I want thin mats. I don't want much of a mat at all on this, just a little hint of this plaid coming out from behind the photos. So I have trimmed my mats to 3 3/4 by 5 3/4. And that is just 1/4 of an inch bigger than my photos, which is going to give me about 1/8 of an inch all the way around my photo. So I'm going to go ahead and just pretend that these are photos, and I'm going to lay them on the mat so you can get that effect. So you can see it's just a hint of that plaid coming around there. And I really like that green in there, pops so nicely. I actually could have made my banners out of that green, the polka dotted green that's on this side. I could have cut a strip of that and used that to make those banners too. That would have looked nice. I cheat a little bit and have just my placeholder cardstock pieces to represent my photos. These would come in the middle like that. And then I would put down these I'm going to move up just a tiny bit. I've got my lovely snowflake chain in the middle, and you can imagine somewhere is my little banner. And of course, it fell off the floor somewhere. Oh, here it is. I could put my title on there, a little title. So there you go. That is how I basically put together sketch number 5 that I showed before. Here's a variation of it with the sleigh punch. Lots of options here. You could easily put a bigger title up here, a little bit of journaling down there, or journal inside this little half circle area. So I do plan to make a second page of this, and hopefully we'll get some nice snow here in the Seattle area this upcoming winter, and I'll have some fun photos to put on this page. So thank you for watching. Thank you for joining this group. I'm super excited for all the things that are going to be coming, and please stay tuned. I'll have more coming in the next few days. Thanks.